Hello and welcome to Variety's Slice of Life, an Otaku Media podcast. As always, I'm Anthony, and joining me today is the lovely Zach.
Hello.
And the wonderful Jarrett.
Salutations, Internet.
We are a bi-monthly podcast talking about games, anime, and a whole bunch of stuff. Today we're going to be talking about Marvel. Pretty much just all of Marvel. Movies, comics, animated series, not merchandise. Well, maybe merchandise, I don't know.
It had to be very specific, I would think, for that.
Yeah, we covered Invincible 2 episodes ago when this was airing, just because of the fuckiness of how we recorded and how I decided to release stuff. And so we're going to be talking about this universe. I do, at some point in the future, want to talk about the Image comic universe, because I didn't realize that 2 of my favorite comics are from Image. That being Spawn and I Hate Fairyland. 2 great comics.
I've heard of one of those. I've never heard of the other one.
Real quick, just because I Hate Fairyland is an amazing comic and everyone should go check it out. It's about a little girl, like a 6-year-old girl who gets Alice in Wonderlanded into like this magical world. And they're like, oh, go find this magic key so you can return home. And she's like, okay, ha. And then she goes off and gets lost, and 30 years pass, and she's still a little girl, but she's mentally a fully grown woman, and she's gone crazy, and she just wants to leave, but they can't let her until she finds the key. It's really funny, and it's really gory, but it has like a really cutesy, like Fairly Odd Parents art style. But that's not what we're talking about today. We are talking about Marvel. And I would argue in saying that it is now the more popular of the 2 comics series, because before it's like, it was pretty neck and neck, and then Marvel came out with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and now it's like, that is the household name when it comes to comics.
Yeah, it was just like, it was a competition between Marvel and DC for like decades, and then Marvel just came out with Iron Man, and then like, they're like, and then just DC couldn't back that up.
Yeah. I do want to start out by saying I want to give huge kudos to this cinematic world that exists. It is an amazing concept. There's so many movies in it, and they're all fantastic. Kevin Smith did an amazing job with the Jay and Silent Bob universe. There's so many movies packed in there. He walked so Marvel could run.
I just watched a video about that. Is the best part of the freaking Jay and Silent Bob universe, essentially.
I was looking up like who did cinematic worlds before this, and the number one I found was the Jay and Silent Bob universe. I guess let's start out with something kind of easy. Who's your favorite Marvel character? Could be hero, villain, random guy.
You probably already know this, but conceptually, I always loved Gambit, even though I know absolutely nothing about him. I've never read or watched anything like X-Men. I just really like Gambit's concept. I don't know, just the ability to throw things and they explode, and he uses it on playing cards is cool to me.
Yeah, he's an interesting character. Like, jokes aside, I like his moveset. I like the fact that he fights with like a bow staff on top of his explosive playing cards, and like his 90s design was very interesting. I liked it a lot. The Channing Tatum Gambit movie coming out soon is going to be weird.
I still think he'll be fine in that.
I don't know. He might be, he might not be. I can't say, honestly. I haven't seen enough of Channing Tatum to really gauge his ability
I
to
will
play a
say, at
character
the
like
very
that.
least, I am hopeful.
Yeah.
I basically had to break this up into categories. Favorite hero. I mean, Deadpool and Spider-Man both are really good. You can't have like they're both similar ways, but they're both so very different. Favorite villains. I have a good category and a bad category for that. One, because one is just so terrible, but their story is hilarious. There's a character that's a Spider-Man villain that he's called Stiltman. This is not about him. This is about someone.
Stiltman.
It's Lady Stiltman. Yeah.
Oh, wait, Lady Stiltman.
Lady Stiltman. Then I will find you the image that summarizes. It's basically she is chasing Spider-Man, and Spider-Man just whips a manhole cover off of the ground, and she just screams, "Where's the ground?" as her stilt just goes straight down into deep into the sewer.
I love that she's not called Still Woman or Still Lady. It's
Nope.
Lady Stillman.
Yep.
I loved. I was so taken aback about Stiltman because I didn't know about Stiltman, but I was reading the Daredevil comics, like the very 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 recent Daredevil comics, like I think they were like within the decade when they were actually like started making this version of Daredevil, and I like this Daredevil is like really cool because it was very dark and like very interesting, but then like they threw interesting things in there like Stiltman. There's just like a random scene where he talks to Spider-Man after they fight Stiltman, which I have to mention that I also didn't know about this version of Spider-Man because they just give a quick bubble explaining Spider-Man, but it's the most like batshit insane thing if you don't know about that version of Spider-Man. The version of was it Superior Spider-Man, the one that's Doc Ock and Spider-Man.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna talk about Superior Spider-Man later. That is probably my favorite iteration of Spider-Man. I have read those comics, most of them. I haven't finished it, but yeah, I'll talk about that later.
Also, first I want to mention that I had to look it up because you mentioning the Gambit movie reminded me. It's like I'm pretty sure I knew something about that earlier. Yeah, that Gambit movie's not happening. That movie got canceled.
I figured as much. I haven't heard anything about it since I first heard it. So
yeah, I remember learning about that a week or two ago, and I was like actually really disappointed. But besides Gambit, I really do like Daredevil, mostly because I read those comics and it got me really interested in Daredevil again, And I was never super interested in Daredevil, but those comics made me like him.
Daredevil's very solid for a normal, like one of the street level heroes.
Yeah, he's definitely like a solid, almost B tier hero, and I don't say that as like he's a bad hero. It's just he doesn't have like cosmic abilities or
he almost
just kind of fights good.
He's got superhuman senses.
Yeah, but that's about it though. Like some chains could kind of incapacitate him.
Yeah, he's just below what they call 4 colors, which is where Spider-Man is at. Like Spider-Man can take on citywide threats, and then just below like cosmic level stuff.
Spider-Man has that. I think they explain it in the universe.
The Superman thing.
Well, he has the ability to be as strong as he needs to, and there's an in-universe explanation for this. I just don't remember what the hell it's called. But he's such a pure entity that he can like channel the cosmic strength or some dumb bullshit.
I never knew that Daredevil until I read those comics. I actually never knew that Daredevil had superhuman senses. Like I knew he was like, I thought he just had elevated senses because he was blind. I didn't know he literally had like a radioactive mutation of superhuman senses.
Yeah,
his the stuff that made him blind is also the stuff that created the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in a lot of things.
Is that canon?
For some things it is canon, yes. In some things it's not. It depends on who's writing.
Yeah, it's just a way to like tie in weird like comic things.
Yeah, some artists and actual writers have done that. So, in some Marvel universes, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are canon.
In DC as well. Cowabunga.
And DC, yeah. And
well, because
DC.
I think they're owned by Image Comics and they lease them out.
Yeah.
like the Turtles have crossed over with both Marvel and DC multiple times.
Right.
But, yeah, besides Daredevil and Gambit, yeah, I do have to say a classic is Spider-Man. Like you can't. Spider-Man is like the Marvel superhero. Like they want to make it Captain America or Iron Man. Now it's Spider-Man. It's always been Spider-Man. Like
In superhero, I'm gonna sound fancy and bougie with this, but with superhero like mythology and stuff, there's the big three. There's Superman, Batman, Spider-Man. All orphaned, all with somewhat tragic backstories whose rise to great strength and powers on occasion. There's a good reason for that. Spider-Man is like Marvel's hero because he is, like Batman, he is the most relatable character.
Well,
Because at the end of the day, he's either a student or he's got to pay rent.
yeah, that's what I like about Spider-Man is that he's the everyman superhero. Like Superman's just like this all-powerful guy. Like yeah, he has a secret identity, but then he's just like all-powerful. While Spider-Man has to like have this duality of living a double life.
Yeah.
Spider-Man-
and, like just being a normal dude who's not getting paid for all of this superhero work.
Spider-Man also has, I believe, the highest amount of quote-unquote spin-off characters. Like notable ones like the Punisher, Daredevil, like because Punisher was in issue 129 of The Amazing Spider-Man, and now that's my favorite, hero, quote-unquote.
Yeah. I do have my legitimate, I'm gonna say, my good favorite villain, because I actually just tie in with both of your guys is Taskmaster.
I love Taskmaster.
And I'm unironic with that. I genuinely like Taskmaster. I
He's
like
the
his
dude,
aesthetic.
he's like the white outfit with the skull who can... Or is he
Yeah,
the one... No, I'm thinking of Bullseye.
no,
That's
that's
the other one that I'm thinking of. Yeah, no, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, no, I just love Taskmaster because it's just like, yeah, he's still a dude, but he's just like, I love his aesthetic. I love him just messing with people. His depiction in, I think it's Spectacular Spider-Man, which is the newer-ish animated Spider-Man series. There's an episode where it's him fighting Spider-Man and fighting Deadpool, and it is the funniest thing that I've watched in, I think, years of a Marvel, like, TV show. I highly recommend that episode. It's very funny.
I also just kind of want to dip. I do want to talk about Apocalypse a little bit.
Okay, which version of Apocalypse? Because
X-Men,
he varies wildly.
X-Men House of M Apocalypse, that universe in particular.
Okay.
So the more modern Apocalypse.
Gotcha.
Even though I do like the old iterations a lot, because he's such a good, weird villain.
I'm gonna end up having to ask that a lot just because there's so much different media for Marvel. I think a lot more so than like DC.
Yeah, Marvel definitely has the one up on them when it comes to, well, because DC has
spreading quality of
DC has the 52, and then they have the Dark 52.
and New 52.
Well, I'm saying like it's the 52 main universes and the Dark 52 universes.
Oh, okay.
Versus Marvel has an infinite amount of worlds that each have their own basic numbers. They even have like our universe numbered. Like it's Marvel exists in like so many dimensions. It's not even funny.
I remember God's sakes, the Prime one, what you could quote unquote be the Prime one, which I think is the main Marvel universe, is 616, something like that.
Yeah, so that's one where most shit goes down.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it is
the multiverse stuff with them is all over the place.
Yeah, and it gets
in a
kind
good
of
way.
Weird.
In a good way, in a bad way.
Because you have like cosmic entities that I don't know, you ever see like villains and you're like, this is this series villain, and then when they dip over into another like group, you're like, this feels wrong. Like for me, Galactus is always the Fantastic Four's villain, even though he's not a villain the entire time. It's just he's always with the Silver Surfer and he's always with the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. No, I get that. Or like when Doctor Doom was a problem for the Avengers, not just
And
Fantastic Four.
it's weird because it's like, they have like their own little like pocket unit. Like the X-Men have X-Men problems, but like then you have Wolverine hanging out with Captain America, and you're like, this is just weird.
I mean, but to their credit, that does make it less of a bubble, for good or bad.
Yeah.
For me, I enjoy it to a degree because it makes it feel a lot more like a world, especially given how close so many of these heroes are. Because
Almost all of
in
them are in New York.
yeah, Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Avengers, Daredevil, Doctor Strange, they're all in New York. New York is not that big.
I can
Even the
only
whole
imagine
state
like
of New
the
York, it's not that big.
insurance rates for that fucking city.
Yeah, New York is like ground zero. Why are there even villains? Like, why are there even people committing crimes in New York anymore? It's like, I could jaywalk and a spider and a wizard would be after me. I wouldn't live in New York at all.
Oh.
There's no way a criminal could get away with like anything in New York.
I like when like the stories take place outside of their like kind of more rural areas. Like I like where the Xavier's mansion is, because that's, I think, I know it's like a northern state, but I think it's like kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
No, it's still also New York. It's just New York State.
Yeah, I think it's like it's outer New York. Well, it's not the city, which is nice. It's still New York,
it's New
but
York
it's
State.
not the city.
Yeah, it's New York State. Not the city.
I want like the fucking like the Wisconsin hero, where it's like he doesn't really do much all day. He just kind of hangs around. Like he occasionally has to stop a bank robbery or something. But
And then on the opposite scale, you have like Guardians of the Galaxy and Nova and Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Space heroes.
Space heroes.
So what do you guys have a particular like favorite comic series, like storyline? Because mine would definitely have to be House of M.
I haven't actually read too many of the full series of Marvel stuff. I've read through Cable and Deadpool. I've read through the majority of Superior Spider-Man, which I both really enjoyed those. A funny note about House of M, though. House of M takes place during, like, kind of like, I think it's either the early or it's the middle part of Cable versus Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason that Deadpool isn't in House of M was because the writers didn't know what to do with him if he was given his wish. So they wrote him to be in a different world in Cable and Deadpool.
So
right as House of M was happening.
Just a real quick recap for those of you who don't know what House of M is. Scarlet Witch, Scarlet Witch has chaos magic, which is like pretty much the strong, like she can manipulate probability and reality, meaning that she can just kind of do anything, but she has like severe mental issues, so that kind of puts like really harsh dampers on like what she can do. And so she goes crazy one day, kidnaps Professor Xavier, then mind controls him, uses his mind to read everybody on the planet's mind, learn what their deepest desires are, and then make that into reality. And in doing so, she changes all of reality, like, from, she changes all of reality. The only person who doesn't, I can't even say they don't get affected. The only person who gets affected in the weirdest way is Wolverine, who his deepest desire is to get his memories back. But she doesn't like cherry pick like wishes, she just grants it blindly. So Logan remembers everything, including the events leading up to this new world, and nobody else does. And they're all like, yeah, Logan, you're crazy. He's like, no, this is all wrong. You guys are crazy. And he goes up to Scarlet Witch. He's like, yeah, you're living a lie. You need to stop this. And then Scarlet Witch is just kind of like, all right, yeah, you know what? I'm done. No more mutants. And she takes away 99% of mutant abilities from all of the multiverse. and I think it went from 300,000 down to like 190 mutants. Like it was a substantial drop.
Yeah.
And this was their kind of way
damage.
of cleaning up like all the weird extra mutants that like aren't in stories anymore. On top of there was another reason behind this story existing. I think it was just to showcase how strong she actually is, but I love that
But
story.
it's also the
Good
same
visuals.
one in which she brought her brother back and they were in a relationship.
Yes.
Ah,
As weird as
yeah.
that one is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Marvel Universe is weird, and there's like a million canons to it, and it's all insane.
That's that's why I can only say like I've only ever read one series, and I haven't read that in a long time, and didn't like really catch up with it. But so I can only really say my favorite one is the somewhat newer Daredevil, just because it's the only one I ever read. I've never really read comics, Marvel or DC, because I don't like. There's just no entry point.
It is very much, unless you luck into it, it is just kind of jumping headfirst and hoping that you hit something good.
And even then, there's going to be a lot of like a character's going to show up and be like, "Hey, remember when?" And then you have to go Google some stuff.
Yeah, because there's no like good entry, like there's barely good entry points on it. Because then you're because things are like reset so often, and there's like thousands of comics and like multiple like iterations of like the same hero or whatever. Like I want I like that Daredevil one a lot, but like even starting from the beginning, like it wasn't the beginning of Daredevil's story, so there was just like things that they would mention that like I just wouldn't really know. Like they brought in I think Bullseye or whatever, but it's like I didn't know anything about Bullseye, but like they made such a big deal about him. I was like, oh, I don't know what his deal is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like reading a Spider-Man comic and then Mysterio shows up. It's like, what's up with this dude with a fishbowl?
Yeah, it's getting into the comics is you either have to look at the standalone series or you have to just appreciate a character and just kind of nitpick what you like. A couple of really good YouTube channels for that are like Comics Explained. Like he does a great job on talking about this kind of stuff. I would name another one, but he's the only one that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, a lot of times I think with especially comics nowadays, you gotta find a storyline that helps. That's why I like doing with DC. Like I read Blackest Night, Brightest Day, which were like big comic events that kind of affected things, and then I read smaller stuff like Killing Joke and Death in the Family and Death of the Family. But those are all like kind of microcosm bits. It's hard for me to get into like main story, quote unquote, stuff, just because there is so much precedent before that, and even after like resets and resets and resets, it's still just like, okay, I don't know what's going on.
They have too many characters that they know what to do with, and they've written themselves into a corner where any threat can be solved by like 4 characters just waving their hand. And so then they have to get creative and either introduce a character who is immune to this hand waving, or this character doesn't exist or is busy, or this is a separate universe where that character just doesn't appear for some reason, It's like Marvel's become so messy. I would argue it's messier than DC. Like DC kind of has its shit together. Marvel feels like they have like 40 different pots cooking at the same time and they don't know what's ready and what's not.
I feel like DC, they have a line of delineation a bit better than Marvel.
Well, and it's like in DC, Justice League is the supreme thing, but it's like Marvel, you have, the X-Men, you got the Avengers, you got Guardians of the Galaxy, there's like 50 different groups versus there's like the Justice League, Teen Titans, I guess. Even though that's just kind of a branch of the Justice League in a way.
If you're getting small and nitpicky, there's like the Justice League Dark.
Yeah, it's like there's not a whole lot of groups. It's more individuals.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like it really feels like when you read a Marvel comic, it's always like it's always got to be personal in a way because like it's always the hero wants to take on the problem themselves and not want any help. So it's like it's always personal to the hero in a way, which I guess is good writing, but at the same time, it's just like
it gets tired because you have 8,000 characters and they all have to follow the same thing. I guess let's talk about the movies for a bit. We can kind of mix and match with the movies and comics and stuff, but I do want to talk about how all of the old Marvel movies are canon in their universe, and then all the new Marvel movies are canon in their own universe. Because you have the Fantastic Four movies, not the reboot, the old one, Spider-Man, Punisher, Daredevil, Elektra.
That Hulk movie we don't talk about. Man.
It's got the sad walking scene.
No, the one before that. Wait, was it the one before that? It was the one from 04. It was the one from 04.
How many Incredible Hulk movies are there?
There's a couple. I think
there's a couple, and none of them are good.
No, 04 I think was because wasn't there one like in the 90s or something? Like wasn't there like a super old one?
There was one with Lou Ferrigno, which I think was the
80s-ish, yeah. Well, it was a TV show that they did a movie.
I don't remember if he got a movie out of it. I feel like he did.
He got a movie. It wasn't like a huge. It was a TV show tie-in, but.
But then I remember there was one in 2004 that was terrible.
Yeah, I remember that.
Terrible. And then there was the one they did after that, which I think had Mark Ruffalo as.
It wasn't Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo's only been in Avengers.
Oh, that's right.
They had to they got rid of that guy because was it the him and Iron Man's actor didn't get along.
Huh, interesting.
But I love that those older movies are all in the same universe because Punisher appears in Spider-Man 2. He also appears in Daredevil. Elektra appears in Daredevil. And then somebody appears in the Fantastic Four movies, like tying all of them together in the weirdest way. And I love it so much. I mean, you could do this fucking Stan Lee thing where you're like, oh yeah, Stan Lee's in everyone.
I still don't like that Elektra movie.
It's not good, not at all.
I mean, none of the movies around that time were very good. I was like, I've never heard good things of the Elektra movie. Never heard good things about the Daredevil movie. Like,
I laugh at the Daredevil movie. I find it as a comedy, and that makes it so much better.
Also, I just want to know if you guys know. Do you know the fun trivia about what the first Marvel movie is?
Oh, Howard the Duck, yeah.
Yeah.
I have that on VHS.
That's like my favorite piece of trivia. It's just the first Marvel movie ever is, of all things, Howard the Duck.
It's such what a fucking weird concept. It's like, oh, we get the rights to the Marvel universe. What should we do with it? You know Howard the Duck? No, we're not doing this. Yeah, and then I don't know. Then you have the old X-Men movies, which I actually like the old X-Men movies. I think
1 is good. I don't like 2. I really don't like 3.
They're campy.
Actually, no,
and
I don't remember
cheesy,
2.
And they're a bit much at sometimes, but casting was on point.
Wolverine and Professor Xavier are
And
two
Beast.
casting are casting choices that go down in history for just how good they are.
Oh yeah.
I would also argue that Beast was an amazing choice. The fucking dude that plays Frasier.
Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah, Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah, I do like him as Beast.
He
I
captured
think was
Beast perfectly, where he's an intellect and he's smart, but he can also kick ass.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was so good. And I grew up on those movies, so I have a soft spot for them.
I will say, I don't think the new guy does a bad job. The new Beast.
He's okay. I just don't like how thin he is.
Yeah.
And I know that's just it's the actor, but like Beast is a big lad, and he's always been a big lad even before he was hairy.
Yeah,
So.
that just reminds me of disguised Beast in the X-Men animated series, which we'll talk about later. Still. Good.
So let's talk about the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. What are your
Okay.
guys' opinions on them?
Never seen him.
Really?
I've never seen any pre-MCU Marvel movies.
Oh my god. Oh my god, that's insane, because the Punisher movie is fantastic. I mean, it's a fucking, like, 90s shooter movie, but it has a spot in my heart, because it's...
I honestly didn't know they had a Punisher movie. When you
They
said
have- they have
Punisher
several.
movie earlier, I was like, that was a Punisher movie?
Yeah.
They have a couple now.
Yeah, well, the original Punisher movie, Punisher makes an appearance in Spider-Man 2 when Mary Jane is running through the city in her wedding dress. She bumps into him, and he kind of looks back, and you can, like, see his skull shirt.
Completely forgot about that.
Yeah, it's great.
Uh,
Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies are actually, in my opinion, they're good. They're very cheesy, and it's early superhero movies, but they're good.
it's also very early 2000s.
Yeah.
Let's be very honest.
Like, the teenagers
But they
were, like,
work for their
fucking
time.
23.
Yeah.
They work well for their time. Spider-Man 3 was bad, but that was only because of circumstance.
Yeah. I will say this. Because I think we'll end up talking about the other Spider-Man movies. Casting choices for those. I think that those first three Spider-Man movies did a very good job of having a good Spider-Man. The Andrew Garfield ones, I think, had a very good job of having a very good Peter Parker. And then
I would argue the other way around.
Other way around,
Yeah,
definitely.
I'd say you're wrong.
Wait, hold on.
Because
Nope, it is the other way around. My bad.
Because
I got them mixed. Yes,
Yeah.
other way around. Yeah,
I
first
thi- I-
three.
Yeah, I think like I haven't really I never watched the Sam Raimi movies, but I've seen like enough of them to like I enjoy them for how like kind of like cheesy and campy they are. Like MCU takes itself more seriously, but I love that the mid 2000s, early 2000s like silliness to stuff, and like he's the best Peter Parker for being this
Yes.
like awkward, weird, like young adult.
Tobey Maguire is a very good choice. Yeah, I did have that mixed up. So yeah, but
And,
Tobey
like-
Maguire very similar.
And even though I don't think the Amazing Spider-Man movies look very good, yeah, he is the better quippy Spider-Man.
Yes,
yeah.
I like
absolutely.
Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I'm not too keen on him as Peter Parker.
Yeah, because he's like a cool teen. I was like,
He like
Spider-
skateboards and shit. And, like, no.
yeah, Spider-Man can't be a cool teen. He's either he's kind of like an awkward nerd who works like a kind of a lame job, and
that's why he's so good. You know, Spider-Man is one of the best superheroes, and it's just those movies very well captured what Peter Parker's life would have been like, and I feel like Doc Ock was a great villain. As cheesy as what's his face was as Green Goblin, I feel like he's still Willem Dafoe. I still like he did a great job.
I would say I love Willem Dafoe as.
Are you
Green
in or
Goblin.
are you out?
I love William Dafoe so much, but like I love William Dafoe because he's just kind of bad. Like I honestly can't think of I can't imagine William Dafoe being in a role that works, but I love him because of it. Like he's like a charisma vacuum. I love him so much.
Small fun fact about the Sam Raimi movies with that. So he has like split personality to a degree in that movie. And there's a scene where he's talking to himself in the mirror. And Willem Dafoe kind of has fucked up teeth, so he wears like little caps over them to make it look like he just has like flush teeth. And so when he's talking normally like as himself in the movie, he has his like, you know, fake teeth in, but then when he's like the crazy version, he has like his old jagged fucked up teeth, and it's really subtle, but it's really cool when you notice it. Oh god, yeah. I wasn't a huge fan of fucking Tommy Wiseau. Who the hell was he? Playing his son.
The Green Goblin son?
Yeah.
God, I don't even remember.
He played Tommy Wiseau in The Disaster Artist.
Oh, James Franco.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of James Franco as his son.
Wait, was it James Franco or was it his brother?
I'm pretty sure it was James.
Okay.
You can't talk about the freaking Franco, but without being like, oh, which one was it again?
It's kind of a rule. Yeah. Got some other really good Spider-Man character, like Black Cat is great.
Yes.
There
you go. While we're talking about Spider-Man, how do you guys feel about Tom Holland? Because I know what my opinion is.
I love Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
I like Tom Holland. I don't like what Marvel did with it. Like, I don't like his story, but I like him as Spider-Man. I feel like he does a really decent job.
Yeah, I do love. I love Tom Holland's Spider-Man as a character. I just don't really like this concept of like being the successor to Iron Man in a way. Like if you're gonna do this, just make Ironheart.
Yeah. Well, it's like you have, just make Ironheart, and then just don't give him, what's-his-face's backstory, Miles Morales' backstory. Because that's what they did in the new Marvel movies, and it's just... You could have just wrote, like, a new thing, or pulled from Ironheart Spider-Man, or...
Wait, how is he, like, Miles Morales?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm curious, because from what I
do you guys
remember,
not know about this?
No.
Oh my god, yeah, the new Marvel movies... all of the Tom Holland Spider-Man stuff, that's just Miles Morales' backstory, like 100%. Like, do you remember in the Amazing the Spider-Verse how like his roommate is kind of the tubby Asian guy?
Yeah.
That's the same dude that's in the Marvel like movies.
Okay, that's one.
No, I'm just saying they straight up stole his backstory and gave it to him for some reason. No, I'm 100% telling you that's what they did. That's why Into the Spider-Verse had to pretty much cut out all of that stuff. Like, the comic book Miles Morales is nothing like the movie. Like, nothing at all.
I was gonna say, I don't remember Tom Holland living with his mom and a dead cop dad.
Aside from that, that's pretty much it. But I think that was
aside from his main living situation.
What, him
Which
going...
is
I'm saying him
integral?
going to college, his friends, how he got his powers, that was all based off of Miles Morales' story.
Okay. I was gonna say, because like a big thing with like Peter Parker is like no parents or they always change what it was with the parents.
Well, yeah,
a lot of the time they just don't even mention
they had to do
the
that because it was Peter Parker, and it was like they had to include Aunt May. I almost said Mary Jane. Well, and Mary Jane too, but they had to include those two staple characters, despite them just ripping Miles Morales' backstory out.
I like how usually Aunt May is like an old woman, but in Tom Holland Spider-Man they made her like a MILF for some reason.
Hell yeah, they do.
I mean, they also made Tom Holland young, or that Spider-Man younger, so I mean, it makes sense for me.
Yeah, he's like a high schooler.
I'm not gonna complain.
Yeah, but I do love Tom. I love Tom Holland Spider-Man. Like both of his movies so far have probably been some of my favorite MCU movies, only because the villains were so good. Vulture was insanely cool. Mysterio, great casting choice. Awesome, awesome fights. Like Mysterio is so. I have to talk about. I love Mysterio so much in the Spider-Man movie because Mysterio's like always been magic, but they're like, what if we had a techno Mysterio? And I was like, I'm so excited because I think they're gonna bring Mysterio back.
Absolutely.
Because
I think that's what they were hinting at in that movie.
Yeah, because the one guy takes the USB drive, so I think Mysterio's gonna come back as like, he's gonna be like, he's still gonna be dead, but he's going to be like a vision essentially. Like he's just gonna like he's gonna be haunting him with
No, he's been confirmed to be coming back because they're having the fucking like 7 movie or whatever. Where it's like the 7 Spider-Man villains. I gotta
the Sinister Six?
Yeah, Sinister Six.
I've been like wondering for so long, are they like, are they gonna do a Sinister Six movie? Because they've been setting up Sinister Six like since the first Tom Holland movie. Because they had Scorpion and Vulture in that movie, and now they have Mysterio. But what I'm interested in is that not all of the Sinister Six has been featured in Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but 5 out of 6 Sinister Six have been at least featured, including like Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The only Sinister Six villain that has never been featured in a Spider-Man movie is the Hunter, I forget his name.
Oh, Craven.
Yeah, Craven's the only Sinister Six like character that hasn't been featured in any Spider-Man continuity movie.
If we get a Craven movie,
That'd be sick.
that has a chance to be really good.
Yeah,
Depending if they cast him good. They do need a very particular kind of actor, I think, to pull off Craven. If only Jeff Bridges was younger.
Oh, dude, young Jeff Bridges. Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
he's so good.
Well, I guess while we're on Spider-Man, Spider-Verse,
The movie,
the movie. Yes, the movie.
fantastic. One of my favorite Marvel movies of all time.
hands down best animated movie of all time.
At the very least, best animated Marvel movie of all time. Because that is Marvel's one weak point. They do not do animated movies.
Yeah, they do live action stuff good, but they
The
do.
closest they have gotten was like prior to Spider-Man Multiverse was like Hulk versus like
Oh, that's,
like-
that's reaching.
yeah.
Ultimate Spider-Man was good, as far as I'm aware.
Is that a movie?
Yeah, is
No,
that a movie?
No, that's a show.
They do
No,
good
animated
TV shows.
no animated shows. They do great. Animated shows are
movies
amazing.
is,
And
like,
animated
standalone.
movies,
Oh, I thought Hulk.
yes, they are terrible.
I didn't know they had a Hulk versus movie. I know they had a. Hulk
It is
versus
Hulk
show.
versus Wolverine and Thor.
And
Two
it's-
separate movies put into one.
and it's okay.
It is very much okay.
And that's what like a lot of the Marvel stuff is it's either bad or okay.
Yeah.
And then you have, like the TV shows, which I would say the TV shows vary in quality, but there's a lot of really good animated TV shows.
Yeah. Yeah, the animated shows are pretty much always good, or they work for what their audience is. Animated movies have pretty much always been garbage, except for Spider-Verse, which is amazing. So I think they more than made up for it.
I don't know if it was good or not, but I because I watched it when I was so young, but I did have a soft spot for was it Superhero Squad show or whatever.
Yes, I never watched it, but I know of it.
Yeah, like the weird like
Earth's Mightiest Avengers.
I think it was called. I don't remember if that was part of it, but it was like Marvel's Superhero Squad show or whatever. It was very childish, like, but it was really cool. I like. I love anything that features MODOK a lot. I love MODOK's my favorite dumb villain.
Oh yeah, have you seen the new MODOK show where MODOK's voiced by Patton Oswalt? And it's in like the style
seen
of
the
Robot
trailer.
Chicken.
I've seen the trailer. It looks great.
I actually kind of want to watch it. It looks pretty funny.
Same. I guess with going to the animated stuff, what is your guys' earliest memory of any Marvel content?
Sam
I
Raimi
know-
Spider-Man movies.
Video games.
Is that
Well, Sam Raimi
Yeah,
and
okay.
the X-Men movies, because my dad loved those.
Okay. Zach, you were saying video games?
Yeah, the Spider-Man PS1 game.
Oh, that was so good, yeah.
That was so good. Okay.
Do you ever play the X-Men Apocalypse game?
Is that the one where you can make your own mutant?
No. This was like a PS2. I think they had it on other platforms, but it was like a 4-party, like dungeon crawler-esque game. It was like a top-down, well, like
Almost like the Marvel Ultimate Alliance later.
kind of, yeah. And you had like 4 characters, and you could use the D-pad to switch between them, and like
Was it like Wolverine, Jubilee, Gambit, and Colossus?
they had
or-
a ton of characters. They had all of those
Okay.
and way more.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of the side-scrolling beat 'em up. That Jubilee and all that.
But
Maybe. That was all.
Where Jubilee was their like stretch pick for a 4th character.
No, but this game had like a ton of the X-Men, a ton of Magneto's squad. Like it was essentially Apocalypse was like, I've absorbed a nuke. Fucking listen to me or I'm gonna detonate it, and then you just gotta go do stuff. And I remember like my favorite group was Juggernaut, Magneto, Wolverine, and Mystique as like my 4 that I picked. And with those 4 you could do anything, because like there are certain areas that you could only go if there was a strong character or a character who could fly or a character who could make bridges. And it's like, you know,
I love that the Lego games do something like that, do things like that. And my I played the Lego Marvel superheroes, which is a very fun game. But it's really funny if you just get Super Skrull. He could just do anything. He could do almost anything. Like I think like there are like 2 maybe things that Skrull can't do. Like he can't do magnesis and he can't do something else. But like almost any like contextual thing that you need like certain powers for, Skrull can do it.
I love that. Rogue was kind of like that in this one, because Rogue could fly, and then she had the only thing she couldn't do was build bridges. Like she could lift heavy shit, she could fly, she could regenerate health.
I love Rogue as a character. Rogue is such an interesting character for me,
Absolutely.
especially in the whole. Like I'll talk a little bit more about like the X-Men, because the X-Men are just a vastly wide group with a lot of interesting characters.
They have some of my favorite like just characters in general. Like I love Mystique. Onslaught is my favorite villain.
Interesting choice. Okay.
You know Onslaught, right?
I feel like I mostly remember, but just remind me just to be certain I got it right.
Magneto's subconscious fused with Xavier's subconscious and turned into an unkillable god in a different dimension.
Okay, so it is kind of the one I was thinking.
And
okay.
He has probably the most like metal looking like outfit. Like this guy looks like he would be on the cover of some like death metal.
Okay, so it is the one I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, he's cool as shit.
Yeah, that screams 90s. My God, that's just. But I guess I'll go back to like the animated stuff and the X-Men stuff, because that's my earliest stuff with Marvel was 3 things. The 2 of them were at the same time, and then one of them was a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
My first 2 were the Spider-Man and the X-Men animated series from the 90s. Both very solid. They maybe don't really hold up, but they were both very good for their time and very, very good overall. And then later, the X-Men Evolution animated series was the other one that like kept me involved in Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
And like like there's the smaller things like the Spider-Man Unlimited where he goes to space in the future and all that crazy stuff.
So
But, like those 3 are like the important ones.
in your opinion, what is your most hated concept in Marvel, like in general? And I'm gonna say mine. I hate the Living Tribunal. I don't like the fact that he exists, because it doesn't make sense for a lot of stories for him to exist. Because there's like, his whole thing is he stops universal threats, but then there are multi-universal threats that just kind of do whatever the fuck they want. And it's just him existing forces an upper limit onto how powerful somebody could be. Unless they can just straight up break beyond that, but nobody can, because he's the second strongest being in existence. Above the one, or below the one above all. Which, do we want to talk about that? Do we want to talk about the one above all?
Never heard of it.
You've never heard of the one above all? There's an amazing Spider-Man comic about it. So, the one above all is God. And I'm saying that in the loosest terms. I'm not saying like Thor, like Asgardians. I'm saying he is straight up like the creator of the entire Marvel universe. And he's very hands off. Like he doesn't really interact with anything. But there's a comic about I think Spider-Man loses somebody dear to him, and then they don't call him the one above all, but like the way that they frame how he talks, it's very clear that that's who he is. He just kind of shows up, and him and Spider-Man go get a hot dog and just talk, and it's just such a good comic. Super obscure character, but arguably the most important character in existence.
Talking about it obscure, then there's also the Sentinel.
The robot?
No, sorry, the Sentry. Sentry.
Okay,
No,
I'm like
sorry, the Sentry. Two slightly similar names. Yeah, no, the Sentry.
Sentry's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of him, but I have a friend who talks about him. I'm not gonna say a lot, but very in depth. Which, when I heard about him, I'm like, God, that's interesting. Like the time that he's so strong that Doctor Strange uses a demon, because apparently Doctor Strange is a lot of his power source would come from a demon, and that led to him getting possessed at one point. So he kind of broke that, and by doing that, he needed basically a new battery. So he had a group of his, I don't remember if it was with or without his knowledge. Basically, a group of monks were channeling all the magic through them. So when he found out, he told them to stop. So when they did that, they channeled it through the Sentry with his permission. Because, for context, Doctor Strange was chasing Loki, and they ended up going to like a fire plane or something like that. Doctor Strange snaps his fingers and completely changes the entire hellscape into a nice meadow. And Loki is just, you can't do that. You should be dead by doing that. The amount of power that would take should have killed you. How are you still alive?
So,
and it just cuts to the Sentry, just, yeah, that tickled.
So,
as he's in the Tibetan mountains, just reading, just, yeah, that tickled.
So, small fun fact about Doctor Strange. So you know how he has his the red like whip chain thing that he uses to bind stuff?
Yeah.
So he pulls that power from I forget the demon's name. He's pretty much just the red demon. Mm-hmm. And so that demon exists in his own personal realm where that's where Doctor Strange just pulls the power from that realm.
Yeah.
That is also the same place that Juggernaut, his like weird magic gem, that's where that power comes from. So that's the same deity that Juggernaut, quote unquote, is the like vessel for.
Oh.
Because there's a comic where Juggernaut absorbs, it's called Eighth Day Juggernaut, and he absorbs all of the power all at once. And Doctor Strange is like, don't worry, I got this. And then he tries to use that magic, and it's non-existent. And he's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. Interesting.
And then I think Hulk just comes in and beats the shit out of Juggernaut.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what Hulk does.
Yeah. That was a good fight,
Hulk
though.
loses very rarely.
Yeah, they answer the question of the thing that bothers me. I was having trouble thinking of something. I guess there are two things that kind of bothered me. Was one, from that Daredevil comic, one of the villains that Daredevil fights, and because I kind of stopped reading it, I didn't really get to see this villain all the way through. But he fights a villain who has essentially his power, like he's mutated in the exact same fashion of having super senses, but he can see. Like that's how he one-ups Daredevil, is that he can also see. I'm like, it's like you can't give him the same power, but like he can see. Like that's just dumb.
I love that.
And also, I hated in game where they just kind of ruined Hulk's character arc.
Yeah.
Like they spent 2 movies setting up this new Hulk. No, they spent 3 movies setting up this Hulk character arc, and then they just neuter it before it's even done.
I see some people who are like, oh yeah, no, they set it up early on. It's like, no, this is. There are two parts of the Marvel movies that I really hate. One is that bullshit, the rat thing that essentially finishes the plot of one of the movies. Yeah, there's a rat walks across a keyboard, and that lets Ant-Man out of the dimension that he was in, and that kickstarts the plot of the second to last movie. I'm not kidding.
Oh, that's right. I do remember that
Yeah,
now. That's
and
right.
I hate the Marvel fanboys' explanation of why that's good writing. It says, well, Doctor Strange said that there was only one universe where they saw themselves winning. It's like, no, that's just bad writing. If it was like Doctor Strange letting out a rat or something from a trap, like for no reason, you're like, that's kind of weird, and then like 2 movies later, that rat is like a plot relevant thing, that would be good writing. But just a rat running across the keyboard and then Ant-Man being let out of that universe is so lazy.
Could have just literally been like Doctor Strange to be like, yo, there's a dude in another dimension, you're gonna want to let him out.
I think one of the most annoying things I've ever come across was the Super Skrull invasion in Civil War. I couldn't like get behind that. I'm just like, okay, because it was just like the Skrull's involvement and all that just seemed so weird. Because it was like Civil War, Secret War, and something, and then the Skrull was after that in like quick succession of storylines. I'm just, what is this? And the Norman Osborn being president and then using villains as Avengers after like a lot of the heroes are gone, like using like dressing up Bullseye as Hawkeye. Just having Venom be Spider-Man.
It's a genius, funny idea, but in practice,
It is, but
kinda
I'm just like,
dumb.
in practice, I'm just like this is horror, because they were called like Thunderbirds or something like that. It was just like, yeah, you got Venom for Spider-Man, you got the Ironmonger for Iron Man, you got Bullseye as Hawkeye. It's just like, it was a lot of weird choices, and I'm just like, who thinks this is good? You're not even disguised. Like, Venom isn't even disguised. Venom is still just Venom. And this is like the Venom I think that eats people.
Oh,
I think
God,
at the
I forgot
time
about
still.
that.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm pretty sure that's the Venom that still just eats people. Like, it just. The whole scroll thing was just like, why? It's like, alright, that's out of left field. But why? It's not an interesting left field. It's just a why in the middle of just of a nice comic series of Civil War, and now it's just like we have Secret War. I'm just like, okay, it's just scroll.
I'm not interested in like the scrolls like all together, but Super Scroll is probably one of my favorite villains conceptually. Like when it comes to like villains, I really like Juggernaut. I mean, I know nothing about Juggernaut. I just think he's really cool because he's just this big dude, big strong dude. I was super hype in Deadpool 2 when they kind of revealed him. Like I freaked out. I freaked out literally at the same exact time that Deadpool freaked out about it. But I love Super Skrull. I just like the idea like he's like, you know, he's the Fantastic Four villain and he has all of their powers. I think that's actually kind of cool.
I do like Super Scroll. I just didn't like the Scroll involvement, like the Scroll as the entirety of the race involvement in the Marvel stuff. I do like Super Scroll because that is an interesting character. I will say that.
I love how everyone shits on Ben Grimm for just being a shitty hero. Like, I don't know anybody who's like, oh yeah, Thing is my favorite hero.
That's my favorite thing. I don't know. My favorite thing is I do want to talk about video games eventually in this episode, but like one of my favorite video games a super underrated video game, Marvel Nemesis: Rise of the Imperfects. You start the game as the Thing. They force you to play as the Thing at the very beginning of the game.
You're gonna play him.
Like you can like as the game goes on, you can play different superheroes, and you can like you have slots, and you can like drop superheroes to take on new ones. But like you start with Thing, and you have to use the Thing for a bit. Like the Thing, I don't know. I don't think the Thing is cool. Like I feel like a rock monster guy should be cool, but there's something about him that just isn't.
Just like, I don't know, like a Brooklyn rock monster is just... Well, because he doesn't do anything interesting. Like Hulk, you know, he's got like inner demons. Ben's just like, I'm a rock man. I don't want to be a rock man. It's like, alright, there are many ways you could not be a rock man.
Though I think we can all agree that the best iteration of the Thing is the Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
Yeah, Thing Ring, do your thing.
I love it so much. It's so dumb.
If you haven't seen, there's a highlight video on YouTube, and I'm gonna put it in the link description. It is just of Ben Grimm like highlights of that fucking Hanna-Barbera cartoon, and it is, oh, it's beautiful.
The Thing solves problems in the most absurd and complicated way just using his strength in that cartoon. And it's so funny.
He like builds a playground by punching a tree.
The writers must have had such a good time working on that cartoon.
It was so good. Let's talk about video games for a bit.
Oh god, do you
guys remember the Fantastic Four PS2 game?
No, I only remember good things like the Spider-Man game on PS1.
It's pretty much just a retelling of the first movie.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's not bad. It's just like, you know, it's that old PS2 game where it's like, I'm probably remembering it better than it actually is, but I still had a lot of fun.
I watched a video on some Fantastic Four game that was so ridiculously broken and bad. I don't even remember what console it was on, but it was like really old.
Yeah. You've played the new Spider-Man games, Jarrett. How are they?
Oh, they are a fantastic Spider-Man game. I have not finished Miles Morales. Miles Morales is definitely similar. It is different in good spots. It does feel like the other game. The other game, I think, is a very, very good representation of a Spider-Man game. Like, playing it, I was like, yeah, no, this does feel like being Spider-Man. And there's like the small things like the J. Jonah Jameson stuff, just the Black Cat DLC. The DLC was great. I love the Black Cat DLC.
J. Jonah Jameson is the best casting for him of all time.
Yeah, J. Jonah Jameson's great, and I remember Jarrett showed me like some of the things. Like I love him doing a podcast now.
Oh, yeah.
Like trying to keep up the times, but like not really understanding anything and just ranting about stuff is so funny.
And these so-called shippers, if you want to get into shipping, join the Navy. Like, oh god.
Yeah, going back to I love that PS1 Spider-Man game so much. It's really cool. I love they worked around their technical limitations of not being able to render a whole city by working it into the plot. They're like, oh, this guy put like this fog, this like death fog is rolling over the city.
Oh
so
yeah.
I just remember putting in the codes to get Bagman, which is like the Fantastic Four outfit with just a brown paper bag. There were so many outfits for that, but I loved that one just because like this is just ridiculous. I love this.
Did you do the thing where you kept switching between normal mode and kid mode until you got Venom to say it? Do you remember that?
Maybe I did. I don't remember doing it, but I think I did do it.
Yeah, because it would just cycle through characters saying kid mode, but for some reason Venom was like the rarest one. And it was like super creepy. It's like kid mode.
That game is so fun. Like, I mean, I feel like I think overall Spider-Man works best in like open world type games, but like that's a linear like level based game that actually works. It's so fun. I love Spider-Man's like fighting style in that, like the web gauntlets and weird things. Like some of the levels are so memorable, like putting the bomb in the bank safe is cool. And also, people who know me would know that I'm obsessed with buddy. The concept of buddy cop things or like buddy films, and that is like a Venom Spider-Man buddy film essentially, because it's like at some point Venom stops being the bad guy. Like for like the first bit, Venom's like the main bad, but once you beat him, you realize he's not like the one behind it all. He thinks that you are, so you join forces. So he's just like goofing around the whole time. Like you go to the Daily Bugle and Spider-Man's on the computer and Venom's just like just saying dumb stuff the whole time. I was like, this is perfect. I want a movie like this.
God, that would be a good movie.
I honestly, for the longest time, didn't know they made a sequel to that. I haven't played it yet. I never knew they made a second PS1 Spider-Man game.
I think I knew that they did. I just didn't hear anything about it.
I remember later on the GameCube, one of the games I played was is it Ultimate Spider-Man?
Yeah. Yes, I wanted to talk about
Wolverine and Venom.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Ultimate Spider-Man so bad. I love that game. So underrated. No one ever talks about that game anymore.
That one I think had very solid swinging mechanics, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
I think the traversing was very nice, if I remember.
Yeah, it was really it was pretty cool because you had two different types of webs, but like and you had to kind of switch them up depending on whether you're like in tall buildings or low building areas. As far as I hear, everybody says that Spider-Man 2 had the best swinging, but I never played Spider-Man 2.
I don't know, the new Spider-Man games I think have really, really good swinging mechanics.
Yeah, I think they actually based it off the Spider-Man 2.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, like the developers like actually went back to Spider-Man 2 to kind of like kind of capture that. But Ultimate Spider-Man had good swinging. Playing as Venom is really fun, especially at the end of the game where you just kind of get the ability. You can like once you beat the game, you have the option to just switch anytime. Like Venom plays so differently because his is like more of like a GTA kind of like style cop, like have cops come after you with increasing levels. And the first boss of the game is Wolverine for some reason.
I love Wolverine.
Yeah, I love. Also, I have to say, weirdly enough, the very first thing you do in that game is murder a child as Venom, which is like a thing you almost like kill. Like having a child die in a video game is so rare. But like for a Spider-Man game, for that to be the first thing you do is you have to be the one to do it.
Jesus.
Also, I want to mention the Spider-Man PS1 games had Stan Lee as the narrator, and that was awesome.
Yes, that was amazing.
I love how
it's just iconic, like just like hello, super believers. I love
True
them.
believers.
Yeah, true believers.
I love how loving Stanley is to his franchise. Like, he's so willing to participate in anything anybody does.
I loved his random cameo in Big Hero 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, as what's his face's dad. That was great.
Yeah, that was just like
Frank.
Yeah, Frank. It was just like it's kind of like a throwaway like little cameo with like a picture, but then at the very end, he actually voices the character. It's so funny. Yeah, but Ultimate Spider-Man is really cool. I love just the random cameos from like other people, like Wolverine. Obviously, they They had the Human Torch were like race levels.
Yeah.
There was a villain in that game that I thought was really cool, and I still don't know who that villain is. Like the blue beetle kind of guy.
Is that just Blue Beetle?
I thought that was
No,
a DC guy.
Blue
that
Beetle
is
is DC.
I don't know.
Yeah, there was like a weird like bug, kind of like bug guy who used like a jetpack, who's a guy you fight in that game, but like they never really. I don't know who that is, and I still think that guy was really cool. Also, Carnage. God, I hated the Carnage.
I think he's just called Beetle. Hold on, let me double check.
Yeah.
That's red.
Yeah. Carnage shows up at the end of like Ultimate Spider-Man, and I hate that level so much because you have to like button mash to open the doors, and if you take too long, he starts healing because he's just eating people in the next room.
Did you say he was like blue?
Yeah.
Was it Boomerang?
I have no idea. I mean, I guess I could look up like Ultimate Spider-Man.
I'm looking it up right now, and I'll just.
Have you guys played any of the?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I feel like they didn't capitalize as much on
him. Yeah.
Oh, he's just called Beetle.
Yeah, I thought he was blue, but I guess he's red and white.
They didn't capitalize enough upon like the video game market with the new Avengers stuff, which is a shame because
they just have that new one game, and
which is horrible. Oh my god, it's so bad. It's just it's so lazy. Like that's my problem with it. It's not a horrible game. It's just it's lazy and there's no variety. Like you don't really switch between heroes. You just play as Miss Marvel the entire time.
No, you know what they needed? They needed to do what they did before, which was Marvel Ultimate Alliance and Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2.
Yeah.
God, we need to put. All right, so I'm gonna put this on the table. We I don't know. I think they're on PC, but we need to play those games and any Lego games.
Oh yeah, the Lego games would be great.
I've never played. I actually really want to play Ultimate Alliance. I've never played Ultimate Alliance. I went to my cousin's house and they had it. I like touched it for a bit, but like I've never like super played Ultimate Alliance. I
love Civil War, the second one. I loved Ultimate Alliance Civil War. I played a little bit of the first one. I don't remember it, but I loved playing Ultimate Alliance Civil War. It also introduced me to a character that I never heard of, but I loved playing it, which was called Penance. He was just a hero. Yeah, he was just a hero that like he was in like a full like just spiked gear, and he basically just got powers from getting hurt. I'm just like, what the? Okay then.
All right, if we're gonna talk about video games, let's talk about the. Oh no, my brain just went blank. What was? Oh, Marvel vs. Capcom.
Okay, good. We were talking about this. Yeah, 2 is amazing.
I never played 1 or 2. I actually kind of do want to play 2 because I know Gambit's in it.
I think
2 is great. I played 2.
I think 1 is just X-Men versus Capcom.
Yes.
Because I think it was just X-Men characters for a while.
Yeah. I remember playing 2 before they renovated the old movie theater in the town in my hometown that I lived.
You want to hear something sad? In the new Marvel vs. Capcom game, I don't think a single X-Men appears.
Yeah, not a single one.
Ooh.
Yeah, despite the series beginning as X-Men vs. Capcom.
I don't want to talk about Infinite. I feel like talking about Infinite is just gonna. No, I do want to talk about Infinite because we'll get to Infinite. I do want to talk about 2, and 3.
I have no knowledge of 1. I do have 2.
Tell me about 2. I don't know much about 2.
2 is, I think 2 is regarded as like the best.
I'd say one
of them. It's very high up there in that franchise at the Marvel.
Yeah, 2's considered the best, but I think 3 is a good contender.
I think 2 gets a lot just because I think it had a very strong roster. So I think 3 lost or changed a lot of the like very like quote unquote strong as in just like notable characters. Because like I remember like Spider-Man and Venom were really cool in 2. I think 2 still had good Mega Man.
I mean, and yeah, we had like a lot of fun characters, and it wasn't.
Let me double check. Let me make sure my facts are right.
And it was like some obscure ones too, which was nice.
Yeah, because like
It was great. And then, you know, I think we had some okay ones in the middle, and then we had Marvel. Well, I'm really trying to think. They were solid games, like very solid fighting games with solid mechanics, interesting characters. It had the tag team mechanic. Had some really weird, like the Capcom. They just kind of pulled out whoever the fuck they wanted.
Yeah, I loved 3 so I loved 3 so much. I played a lot of 3, and I love that game. Like,
God, I forgot.
Phoenix Wright is absolutely bonkers to play, but he's so fun. Like, if you can figure out how he actually works, because Phoenix Wright has the most like weird mechanics. Because he has like he has like an investigation phase where you have to pick up evidence. Then he has like the courtroom phase where you can now use the evidence as weapons, and then if you hit them with the ejection, you enter like the cornering phase where it's like you're now being you have like a time, like it'll run out, but you do these like crazy like pointer, like giant like glowing finger points, and they have so much range. Like, Phoenix Wright is so cool.
I forgot about all the characters there in 2. So like for Marvel, they have. Try and get through this quick. Blackheart, who I don't remember. Cable. God, they had Cable in there? Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
I do remember.
Yeah,
Blackheart.
they had Cable.
I do remember Blackheart. I thought he was a Capcom character. Good to know. Blackheart, Cable, Captain America, Colossus, Cyclops, Doctor Doom, Gambit, the cool one from the 90s, Hulk, Iceman, Iron Man,
Fuck Iceman.
Juggernaut, Magneto, Marrow? I remember Omega Red. Who was Marrow? I don't remember her. Wait, is she just the inspiration for Spike? Okay, never mind. Psylocke, Rogue, Sabretooth with I think one of the best designs. Like, there are 2 designs of Sabretooth I love. One is the 90s, the other is X-Men Evolution.
Oh, it's so good.
A Sentinel, Shumagarath.
Yeah,
Which is just an Eldritch horror. Oh, I forgot about that thing. Yeah.
That weird
Silver Samurai. Ooh.
Yo.
Okay then. Spider-Man. Spiral.
Spiral.
That's just a man with a lot of arms. That's just a girl with a lot of arms.
Yeah. Okay. No, it is something. I think she said
Storm, Thanos, Venom, War Machine. Okay, so they did have 2 flavors of Iron Man, and Wolverine. And then for Capcom, I don't recognize a lot of these. It had Jill Valentine in it.
Yeah, they have Wesker in one of them as well.
3 had Wesker and Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Nemesis. They had Nemesis in 3 as well.
Yeah, they had Nemesis. Oh,
2 also,
so cool.
Zach 2 also has Tron Bond.
Yeah.
It
makes me more mad about Infinite. They cut Tron Bond in Infinite, and I'm so mad.
They have Tron Bond and Roll. Interesting. And Mega Man.
Okay, so
Tron Bond's my favorite.
I want to talk about Infinite real quick, but before we talk about Infinite, I want to talk about the Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite tournament that they had. Do you guys know about this?
Yes, it was so bad.
Okay, but the concept, though, I really like the concept. So, Jarrett, do you know about this?
No, I don't.
Okay, so before the before the big tournament, there was I think 6 smaller tournaments. And whoever won the smaller tournament got a stone from the Infinity Gauntlet.
Oh God!
It gets insane. And so once you win 1 stone, you cannot participate in the other fights. And so it's just like the 6 stones got to give out to 6 players. And so the stones allow you to manipulate things in the game. So like the Space Stone allows the stone bearer to swap their position in the bracket to face a different opponent.
Already sounds stupid.
That's kind of a cool one, but some of them were really
some
bad.
of them are really bullshit. Like, okay, the Soul Stone allows the stone bearer to erase one of their losses in a 3 out of 5 set. So they get a mulligan. Time Stone allows the bearer to cease the flow of time, enabling them to negate the use of the opponent's the opponent's stone bears stone for any period of time during one match. So they could just be like, yeah, no, they just negate one stone bearer. Power stone, they get to hit the first hit in the match. So the opponent cannot hit them first. It has to be the dude holding the stone.
Dude, that's one of the bullshit ones.
Yeah, absolutely. The Mind Stone allows the stone bearer to control their opponent's mind by choosing both of their characters.
Also super bullshit.
Yeah.
And then the Reality Stone grants the stone bearer the ability to alter reality by swapping 3 button functionality on their opponent's control.
Oh my god.
That's even worse.
It should have just been bracket manipulations and stuff. Like not like they should have manipulated the matches.
Like it's bullshit.
Like in a fighting game, a first hit, like that's like a combo that could be like half of a character's health bar.
I love it so much, and it's so dumb. But like as a legitimate tournament, that's bullshit.
Yeah, but I like three had really good characters. Like I thought Nemesis, like even though I don't really like Resident Evil, I thought Nemesis was really fun to play. Ghost Rider was overpowered. His chain whip hit the entire screen. I think Captain America was also overpowered, but I never really tried him. But also, some good picks was Beautiful Joe and Amaterasu. Those were like insane picks.
Wow, I forgot that game also had Amaterasu. Interesting.
Yeah, I loved it. I forgot what I'm trying to remember what my team was. I think my team was Tronbon, Mike Hagar. Mike Hagar was super fun. I think Tronbon, Mike Hagar, and maybe it was either like Amaterasu or Phoenix Wright.
Oh, yeah, I got such a fucking hard on for Mike Hagar. He's he's so good.
Oh, I forgot that 3 had Taskmaster.
Did they? I didn't know that.
It does. Yeah, I knew he was in a fighting game, but I couldn't remember which one. Yeah, cool. Yeah, he's in 3.
But okay, so as much as I hate Infinite, because it looks bad, like the art style's bad,
and it's a shameless cash grab.
Yeah, the mechanics are bad.
Roster's bad.
Yeah, the roster's bad, but stages amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It has the best stages because it combines a Capcom place with a Marvel place, and that's really cool. Like they had one level was Iron Man's Stark Tower with Dr. Light's lab. What was the one
with Frank West and they had a good one with him. I'm trying to remember.
I don't remember him having a level.
I think he was in that, but
he was in 3 and 4.
I didn't know he was in 3. I knew he was in 4. I just didn't know he was in 3. What a weird character to be in there, by the way.
Yeah, I saw cutscenes of 4, and he actually kind of he's kind of funny in the story because he's just like kind of like a normal dude who's just kind of hanging around. I think he bonds with Spider-Man a bit because they're both photographers, which I love in 3 where Phoenix Wright and She-Hulk have things to say to each other because they're both lawyers. And I think She-Hulk is actually in Phoenix Wright's like ending.
I love that.
Yeah, but it was 4 had a really cool level where it was a Monster Hunter village mixed with Wakanda.
Oh yeah, that was so good. Plus that fucking fight with Hulk and Ryu.
Yeah, Hulk and Ryu uppercutting an Elder Dragon.
And then they break the horn off and drive it into it. Oh, it's so good. It's so hype. Oh.
That was the only cool part of it.
Yeah. Easily.
But okay, so done with Marvel's Capcom. I gotta talk about Rise of the Imperfects because I feel like no one knows about this game, and I feel like it's such underrated, even though it's such a cool game. It's a game where like essentially aliens are invading Earth, which is, you know, your typical Marvel kind of business, really.
Yeah.
Though I think Anthony might be sad to hear this, that they have an opening cutscene, and they have an opening cutscene where they kill the Hulk, Captain America, and Punisher off.
Aww.
Like, they don't even show Punisher as the funniest. It's kind of the funniest part. Like, you see Hulk and Captain America die. You only see Punisher's skull shirt like on a like hanging off a thing.
That's kind
So
of
they kill. Yeah, but it's a really cool game because you play like you essentially have you start as the Thing, and as you go through the Thing's levels, you eventually get more heroes. And like they're added to slots, and you only have I think 5 or 6 slots, and you can pick a different hero and do like their missions. And then when you unlock like too many heroes, you have to then drop a character. So you're continuing the game, and you're like dropping and adding heroes. This game is actually what taught me that Spider-Man has super strength. I didn't know until this game that Spider-Man actually had like super strength. I just didn't think he had that.
He a beefy boy.
Yeah, but the coolest part about this game is that they had original villains. They had they're the Imperfects, and they're like these like weird like experimented like mutated guys. I don't remember what any of them looked like, but like all of them had sort of like nuclear kind of like looks. Like one dude had like he was this like buff dude who had like arms that had like nuclear like stuff going through them. They were like sort of like clear arms with like nuclear stuff going through them. I think like one guy like spit acid. Like the Imperfects were awesome. I really want to play this game again. Like that's one of my dream games to like get a copy of again one day.
Yeah, you're gonna need to go game hunting for shit like that at some point.
Yeah, every time I go to a used game store, I look for like certain games, and I feel like Rise of the Imperfects is one I always look for. Also a really good game, the Wolverine game.
The tie-in to the movie, or
No, I don't think so. I think it was just a standalone Wolverine game.
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
Same.
It was pretty cool. Like you can even start as like Weapon X, like the weird thing where he has like the weird like thing on his helmet, the weird helmet thing.
Is equivalent to like a Saiyan scanner
Yeah.
mixed with a Dreamcast. Just
Yeah, but it's a really fun game. I think it had really good fighting mechanics. I don't really remember a lot about it. It had cool costumes and stuff. Like you could wear like the classic spandex and stuff. I love any Marvel game that just gives you like costumes, because there's so many iconic costumes for every hero. But one thing that always stuck with me is when you beat the game. I don't remember if you beat the game or if you have to unlock this in some way. You get like a blooper reel, which is just like a joke blooper reel. And the one I remember the most vividly is Wolverine bringing out his claws, but they're like forks and spoons.
The Punisher game does that, which Punisher game is amazing, but
The Punisher game is so good.
Oh yeah, the Punisher game's end credits it's just glitches that the developers just ran across when they were like making the game. There's a scene where you're in a funeral home and everyone starts running away from you, but like in the fucking cutscenes, their fucking arms are going nuts. So everyone's just like flailing, running away from you. It's so funny.
Yeah, I want to play that Punisher game again. I never finished it, but that game is so cool. It had cool moments. Like the funeral bit was awesome, where you're like hiding in a coffin and then you pop out and just start shooting everybody, which is just a scene from Hitman as well.
Punisher's kind of like the original Hitman.
Yeah. and then there's the level where you're on like you have to like you take like a guy as a hostage, and then you have to walk. You have to like walk past these other guards, but like you have to kind of hold the guy towards them so they won't like get the idea. But I think like one of them will eventually like actually just shoot the guy.
I forgot that they came out with a Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. I don't think that one was well received, if I remember correctly.
I don't remember it being considered bad. It was just kind of flew under everybody's radar.
Okay, then I may look into that, because I'm trying to see if 2 is available. It's not on Steam, so I'm sad. We can't play it that way.
I think 1 is on computer, but it's like I remember like one of them had a PC port that's very poorly received.
Yeah, 2 I think is definitely Prime Ultimate Alliance, but I gotta see what it's still on. Like, on Switch or anything, that we should definitely pick that up.
Anything else that we need to mention with Marvel? We gotta wrap this up to
We do.
go to our new game that we're playing that you guys can check out on anything that you're listening to this on. Calling All Heroes, check it out bi-weekly on the weeks that this isn't posted. So shameless plug.
If only we didn't have to worry about copyright, we could put BThepoet's We Can Be Heroes.
Oh man, I love Spy Kids.
No, that wasn't Spy Kids. Oh no, that's what they called that movie.
Or no, it was Shark Boy and Lava Girl, my bad. Or no, wasn't Cameron in that? I don't remember.
No, it was a continuation of Shark Boy and Lava Girl, but it wasn't called Shark Boy and Lava Girl, but they were in it. It was just called We Can Be Heroes.
And they have a really shitty cover of that song.
Yeah. You could have just said yo, I love Regular Show. That would have hurt me less.
Yeah. All right. Any other Marvel stuff that we need to talk about?
Not that I can think of.
Only thing is, there's a character who's just kind of big. Well, a group who's just kind of big mom. They're the Gem Society, where they just have a giant gem that they pray to, and their whole thing is that they marry other planets like royalty to try to make like a giant empire. And so it's just like this huge arranged marriage thing that they pray to a giant gem, and it's a really interesting comic idea.
Okay. Oh wait, hang on. I gotta mention one thing. I love the concept of I love the concept that the reason why Venom is insane is because he bonded with Deadpool for a couple seconds.
It's so good. Have you seen that comic where it's Deadpool walking past Spider-Man on the way to him getting his outfit, which is Venom?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
It's so good.
He bonds with Deadpool and he goes insane, and then
and Spider-Man puts him on and it's like, oh.
Yeah, I didn't know that was the origin. Like, essentially, I know that came after, that came long after that, the actual original, that comic. They were just referencing back to that. But that, the way that Venom was introduced to the franchise as such an iconic villain sounds really weird. Where he was on an alien planet and he was like, "Oh, this machine will give you a new suit," and then oops, we created the most iconic villain in Marvel Comics. Oops.
It's great. It's so weird, but it's great.
I need to watch Venom. I actually hear that it's like a bit of that buddy thing. Cause I hear that Venom in that movie is actually kind of like comedic a bit.
Venom 2, There Will Be Carnage, coming soon. All right. Yeah, so that should be it. Tune in next week for Calling All Heroes for big fat penis weenus. Anyways, thank you for joining us. You can find links to everything in Link Dump along with our Twitters and other social medias if you feel like following us. As always, we post twice a month and we'll occasionally have special episodes, so be sure to stick around for that. Next time, be sure to join us for we'll be talking about DC Comics, and movies. And as always, have a good day.
Hey, Renette.